Next, we have Seema Verma ji, an engineer and retired aviation professional who has trained pilots on Airbus and Boeing aircraft. Recipient of the National Swachhata Award presented by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji for her waste management project in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which drastically reduced landfill waste. We are also glad to have you here with us, ma'am. And we have Niharika Singh ji, a renowned theatre and film personality, former head of the acting faculty at Barry John Acting Studio, and a visiting faculty at the National School of Drama. She has mentored numerous award-winning actors and served as a jury member at the international film festivals. Together, these remarkable panelists will delve into the island's natural beauty, cultural richness, and sustainable development efforts, offering us a broader understanding of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So can we start the session with a huge round of applause?
Good evening, everyone. So today we are going to talk about the Andaman Nicobar Islands and what lies beyond the Turquoise Tranquility. And we have an esteemed panel, Seema and Mr. Chandra, who've lived there and worked extensively in the Andamans. So let's find out from them. Most of us know about the islands only as tourists and with the stunning landscapes, but what lies beyond? So let me start with Mr. Chandra. He's written a beautiful book called When Turquoise Waters Turned Dark. So now in the book he talks about the 90 years of history of Andaman, where it acquired the name of Kala Pani. But he's set them against beautiful, stunning landscape of the islands, which are photographed by Mr. Keshav Chandra himself. I'd like to start with some incident that has stayed with me and from the Ross Island. Okay. And I quote, "The youngest grave is of Lawrence, son of Lawrence and Jemima Lawrence, born on 16th September 1863, who died the same day after 22 hours. His epitaph read, he glanced into the world of ours to see." Okay. Am I audible now? All right. "To see a sample of our misery, then turned his languid eye to drop a tear or two and die." Unquote. This to me speaks volumes about the dark times and the quality of life in Andaman. So would you like to take us through the dark times that you've written about?
Well, ma'am, it's the title itself says volumes about the place. I'm quite sure that most of you must have visited Andaman Nicobar Islands. It's one of the most pristine waters that you can see, blue and turquoise waters everywhere. The moment your flight is about to touch down, you can see it from above. So the most intriguing factor is that why was it called Kala Pani? Because they could have given any other name. Then, despite having such pristine water, why Kala Pani? And this intrigued me most, that why British chose this island, lovely islands, as penal colony. And so it was coming to my mind that there must be some reason, and because it can't be a historical accident as such. Then I started reading all the archives and the books written by contemporary British officers. Then I realized that it was never meant to be a penal colony. And that intrigued me, that Andaman was never meant to be a penal colony. Actually, it was meant to be a naval settlement. And so before they came and settled there, there was a great debate in the British higher ranks that whether it should be a naval settlement or whether we should actually go and approach this alien land, and if at all we are going there, what can we get? So the contemporary, that time I'm talking about when the Anglo-French War was going on, that time there was a great debate, and they said that we must have some strategic position there in one of the islands, that is for sure. But apart from that, can we get something else apart from this vantage strategic foothold? So then they selected a young officer called Archibald Blair, and I'm really fascinated by that character. He was only 27 years old, very young boy, and infatigable is the word for him. He was tireless in his efforts. So he came all the way with all the provisions, and he was also a hydrographer. So he would actually make maps of the entire hydrography of the area, also write in great detail whatever he's noticed, he's seen, and prepare a report by night. So whatever he has seen by the day, he will prepare reports by night. And there are almost 852 islands there in Andaman Nicobar archipelago. He must have seen almost 90% of it, because once you read his accounts, you get goosebumps that what kind of person he was. And then after surveying the entire topography, he selected a very tiny island called Mark Island. But later it was christened as Chatham Island. So in April 88, he started. And by next year, April, he goes and he submits his report to the Governor General. And Governor General, immediately within a month, he tells me that we cannot send anybody else. You will have to go and make a settlement there. And he gave them 200 convicts, because that time British used to make penal colonies all over Southeast Asia through these convicts. They would give, because of free labor, it becomes very cheap to establish a new colony. So you can see Tenasserim, Molme, Verma, Penang, all these colonies, Singapore, all these colonies were actually being set up by British through these convict laborers. So he was also given 200 laborers. So he came there and he used to work just like a laborer. He never distinguished himself to be a British officer. So daytime he would survey, and then nighttime he would write his report. And whenever he used to get free time, he would actually do menial jobs like anybody else. And he would make very, very detailed report and send it to Government of India. I have seen his original letters, and he has written that I require 314 things to make a settlement, and nail of this size 3.5 kg, nail of this size this much, rope this much, and he would make such detailed inventory of things which are required. It will be absolutely a 27 years old boy who has no idea that how a settlement would be made, but he is doing it. And later in the history, after 4 years, in fact, the history says that 4 years, the entire place came up very well. It was thriving, and people were also very happy. And in one of the accounts, there was an officer, he writes that these things were so nice, and that even the chief surgeon has gone on leave, and there's no major problem here. And they used to invite their relatives to Chatham Island. But the historical accident which was lurking in my mind, and I always thought there must be some reason, that historical accident, I chanced upon that time the Viceroy was Cornwallis, Governor General rather. Governor General's brother was Commodore Cornwallis. He was traveling from Burma to India, from the northern tip. And so then he saw the parts of Andaman Nicobar Islands, and Chatham is in between, in middle of the entire archipelago. So on the northern part he sees an island. He said that this is the most appropriate island where the settlement should be made. So he writes it to Government of India. Obviously he's brother of Governor General, so he carries lots of weight. And then Governor General then instructs Archibald Blair that why don't you go and settle there? Strategically it's more important. And to my utter astonishment, Blair also agrees to this proposition. And this was the biggest historical folly, as far as that's why the name of my first chapter is Commodore's Folly. That now Blair also agrees, he goes there, and in fact, it was jinxed right from the beginning. 3 ships started from Calcutta, there was cyclone or something, and one ship sank, and 2 ships reached there on different days. And finally, he comes, Blair also comes. Government of India made another mistake. That time, British government made another mistake. They sent Blair on leave. So he was said that no, now you go and fight Crimea War. You are not required here. And they put somebody else, Captain Kidd. And everything started going downhill. Within 4 years, there was such a huge pestilence, 50% of the population died. And so Government of India had no option but to wind up the entire thing. So within 8 years, what was supposed to be a naval settlement and also a settlement where other economic activity could flourish, it was wound up within 8 years, and literally Government of India forgot. They forgot that there is a place called Andaman Nicobar Islands. Only after 1857, when there is no space in jails, and Southeast Asian jails, they refused directly that we will not take any of the Indian prisoners. So Sumatra, again, Tenasserim, Malmö, all these places, they said that we will not take any of your convicts. Then they said where to take them. So they thought that, okay, fine, we'll set up a penal colony in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. This is how it started. So one folly of a person that you shift the settlement there actually changed the entire course of history. And there are other aspects in the book.
Would you like to talk about the life on Ross Island?
Right. So just for the all the audience, let me tell you, Ross Islands was the headquarters. So after 1857, when that time it was Chief Commissioner. Chief Commissioner was Walker. So when Walker came, then he decided, he also firstly came to Chatham only. And in fact, there were 3-person committee set by Government of India that time, that you go and again survey. So they surveyed. It was headed by a very powerful bureaucrat of that time, Mr. Muat. In fact, his name is, some of the places are named after him. So he again submitted a report that no other place could be better than Chatham, which Archibald Blair chose. And so came to Chatham, but they realized that in order to have a larger settlement, they need to have a place where there's water. There was no water there. So they went around and they found an island called Ross Island. Ross Island is a natural water source. So, and that time, though it was a penal colony, so, and from Karachi, all the convicts were brought here in the first ship. But there was no jail. So for a long period in Andaman, contrary to our popular belief that it was a hell. It was, when the jails were built, then obviously for some period of time it really became hell. Otherwise, all the convicts were just living there just like in labor camp. Only factor was that the terrain was quite hostile. There were bogs, swamps, and other places, and so all the kinds of mosquitoes and other insects were there. So that way life was slightly harsh, but then it was harsh anywhere else. Otherwise, as far as the freedom of the people goes, or convicts goes, they were as free as any other place. And so in the Ross, when they chose Ross Island, it's a tiny island. Most of you must have gone and visited. You can see the ruins of the British structures still there. So the first time and what she was reading is very poignant lines written in one of the epitaphs, is about a young baby who's born and dies immediately after say hour or so. Yeah. So actually the life for the British also was quite tough. And I chanced upon a novel written by M.M. Kai. M.M. Kai was a brilliant novelist, contemporary novelist. She actually gone and stayed in Chief Commissioner's bungalow. And there she had written this novel, which is still available on Amazon, Murder in Andaman. A very fascinating novel. Yes. So that in that novel you will find about the Chief Commissioner's bungalows, details of the bungalow. So in fact, Intact was trying to do something, so I gave them that, you can see that what all were there in that. So in that Kai's book, then in the Kai's book, another thing comes out very prominently is that British had a kind of caste system there, unspoken caste system, in the sense that all the true British officers who came from England, they were living in the Ross Island. But the Anglo-Indian, and the officers of Caucasians, white skin, but coming from other countries, they were on the lower reaches. While the Anglo-Indians, all those who married Indians, or offspring of one of the mixed races, they were living in the Port Blair area, all through. So about the plantation and other things, you'll find references that Anglo-Indians were running those plantations, which is quite fascinating. And the general life in Ross was, actually, again, I wrote to British Archive, they sent me some material, and very fascinating to read that one of the wives of the officers who was living there, she has written a very detailed account that initially we had no other recourse but to gossip. And we would gossip about our kids and Jarwa raids and all kinds of affairs. And then she said that later we decided that let's indulge into certain activity. So the sailing, shooting, all kind of small activities, it started. And you could still see the sailing clubs, remnants of the sailing clubs. And then there is a pool, seawater pool is there. So everything was built gradually. Then there was a cricket field also. I was like totally shocked because now you can't see the cricket field, but cricket field was there. And they built a tennis court, then squash court is still there in ruins. Dance floors are there in subordinate clubs. In fact, the photograph are also there in the book. So life was pretty tough. Also, there's another passing reference. There was a Home Secretary called Mackenzie. So Mackenzie has visited, and in his account, he is writing that the army men are quite bored. So they had no other option but to dive in the ship which is sank there, and its name was Firoz Shah. So apart from diving and taking out oysters from the Firoz Shah, they have no other work to do. And so they're quite bored. Also, in one of the passing references I have read about officer writing that nobody is actually backing anybody else. And so everybody is on his own here. And worst of lot, from the civil servants are sent here. So we were laughing that the tradition continues even on this day.
I was about to say that.
So we were saying that, yeah, we are also the worst to the lots who were sent here. And so that was briefly the life in Ross Island.
Is it the reason why it's still sometimes called Kala Pani?
So Kala Pani, there are 2-3 theories. One theory which I tend to believe is that there are some places where it's so deep blue, water is so deep blue that any commoner would come and find it a color thing. And all the illiterate convicts coming from northern part of India, they had some fascination with word kala. So you'll find kala patthar, kala pahar, kala nadi, kala rasta, kala ye, kala pani. And there are places, near Chatham itself, there are places where you can see very, very deep blue water, which would appear to be kala. But the other theory is that now it's so impregnable, you cannot just escape from this place. That's why they call it Kala Pani, and it's a torturous living condition. So that's why probably it was called Kala Pani. I could not actually see that why it was Kala Pani, but yes, for the entire period, even when the Japs came there and they stayed there for 3.5 years, probably that was the worst phase of Andaman history. So in fact, till 1947, the struggle continued for all the residents there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Japanese imperialists. Okay,
so Japanese, as we know that in the Second World War, they came all the way to Burma. So in March 42, they conquered Burma. They actually sank 2 British ships. And British realized that they cannot fight Japanese. So March itself, they decided that apart from the chief commissioner, Waterfall was there, and his deputy, A.J. Bird. A.J. Bird means in modern terms he'll be chief secretary. So A.J. Bird and Waterfall and 1 or 2 more fellows would be there, and rest of the fellows, they were asked that they evacuated, they left. So Tojo came. Tojo was actually he was managing the entire Second World War from Japan. Here in Andaman Nicobar, there was Admiral Ishikawa came, and so initially it was not that bad for a month or so, but immediately it started from one very, very stray incident that one of the couple of Japanese soldiers, they were probably standing in the market, they molested some woman, and so either her brother or somebody resisted. His name was Sunny, and so Sunny, he got a gun from somewhere, he fired in the air, and the Japs, they fled away. Later they came back in greater number, and they said that give us that fellow. So local people were quite scared. So they said that, okay, fine, we will not give you, and we do not know where he has gone. So actually that time the local Indian leader, Diwan Singh Kale Pani, he was quite close to Subhash Chandra Bose. So he intervened. He said that no, but I'll ensure that he is not killed or anything, he'll be just punished. So the moment the Japs took him out and shot him in broad daylight everywhere. And that was probably the beginning of the perpetration of atrocity that you can imagine. It crossed all the limits. Then there was a guy called Dennis Richardson, a British fellow. He was from British intelligence. So he set up different radio stations, hidden radio stations. And he also cultivated some local fellows who used to give him information. So he used to take information and pass on the exact information that when Japanese ships are coming with all the provisions. So Allied aircraft, bombers, they will take off and exactly bomb the ship, and not a single ship used to survive. So within 3 to 4 months, there was such huge scarcity of food, armaments, everything that Japs were like totally at their wits' end what to do in this situation. So they also started suspecting that locals are in connivance. And so locals are to be, there must be many spies, and so they looked at everybody with suspicion. And then the atrocities started. Then they would simply round up entire village, like in Garacharma. Some of you who have stayed in Andaman would remember. They put in a Garacharma, took them to Tarmugli and shot them. So 40 of them were shot in a single day. 300 people were taken on board a ship, and the ship was taken to a place called Havelock. Havelock is now a tourist destination. So in between they had employed some Burmese labor. So Burmese labor were given the task to kill all the Indians and throw them in the sea. So all of them were killed except for 2, Govardhan and one more fellow, he survived. And he came back after 2 years. He survived in the jungle. And when the Japs left, then he came back to Port Blair. And so Japanese atrocity, there is a huge, I mean, I don't think they have done, yes, for their own benefit, they have done many, many things. In fact, if the presentation is on, I'll quickly show you the photographs. I have some photographs related to, so what they've done is that because British had built cellular jail by then, by 1896 they started, 1906 it got completed. This is the way to point. Yeah. So this is the title of the book. Yeah, so the book is, it just gives some details about the book. Yeah, the history, 3 phases of history. Yeah, I was talking about, yes, this part I missed out, that Andaman was not discovered by British. In fact, it was discovered much earlier. Marco Polo in his account has written about Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Then John Mandeville has also written, but they have written fantastic things about the local citizens, that they look like cyclopes, people with one eye, which is just not possible. So there was a great debate that is it a place with great landscape, or is it a place with volcanoes and bogs, and this is a live picture of Andaman. This volcano is still active in the barren islands. I've taken it with the drone. And this is the island where they all came. This is Chatham Island, where he built his, Blair built his first habitation. And after 4 years he leaves, and then the entire thing was wound up after 4 years. Then second chapter starts with Ross Island. This is the tiny island where British set up their headquarters. And you still find all the British buildings, remnants there. So imperial phase starts in 1858. I think the files are very heavy, so yeah. So this is the first structure they built in Ross Island. This is the lighthouse. It's 11-meter tall lighthouse. And every lighthouse in India, for that matter, throughout the world, they run on different specifications. So it has 12 meters of dia, and it comes, rotates in 11 minutes. So every lighthouse would be known by this. The sailors would know that how to recognize a lighthouse from the frequency. I'm sorry, the files are quite heavy, it takes time. Yeah. Okay. This is the church they built at the Ross Island. There were 2 churches they built, one Catholic and this is Anglican church. This is still there. Now Government of India has planned to restore it, all the buildings. This is a garrison. This is the largest structure, and this was modeled on Windsor Castle there. So in fact, Mackenzie has himself written that, you know, there was no need to spend this much of money here in Ross Island, but it's still, yeah, this is the water purification plant which they built. And it was, actually they used to burn wood, and through wood they would treat water and then they drink. Because you have many cholera episodes there, and the baby died because of the cholera itself. So after that they decided that they will have the water plant. This thing is still there. Yeah, next. There was a printing press they built, also electricity room, genset, and just next to this building was the electricity home. Next. Yeah, this is the ballroom. You can see it is in ruins, but in fact it had a wooden floor. So people could come and dance in the evening. Yeah, with the springs, Even now you can see, once you dig, then you can see all these things. There was a card room also. There was a billiards room also. So all these things were there. And this residence for subordinate officers. Now it gathers moss. Next. Yes, on the southern side of the island, they also built a small jail, because they used to, when the revolutionary were brought here, they were kept here for some time before they were sent back to cellular jail. Next. This is the cellular jail you all must have seen. Yeah, this was another jail. I don't know whether you have gone and seen this. This is the only structure, apart from the Ross Island and Port Blair, this is the only surviving structure, and this is found in Viper Jail. This is the gallows where, and this was infamous for chain gang. Chain gang, earlier British, what they used to do is that bring many convicts together, or reprobate variety that you cannot actually rectify them. But 15 or 20 of them would be tied together. Their ankles would be tied together through a chain or something. So even in the daytime, they would put to some work, and with the clinking of chain, one could hear it even at a distance of say 15 kilometers. Night, they were not allowed to sleep. In fact, the chain would be there on their ankle while they were sleeping. So that's why this place was famous for the chain gang. But this place was disbanded immediately after the cellular jail was built in 1907. This is the cellular jail, and you can see this tree. This tree was there when it was conceived. So this tree is still surviving. In 1896, when it was planned, this tree was there, the peepal tree. Next. Next. Chapter 4 is about Japan. I talked about Japanese presence. I've named it as sunspots, because Japanese presence was not that good here during that time. Next. And I got this photo in a place called Parrot Islands. I don't know whether you have gone. It's in the middle of Andaman, and the setting sun is absolutely fabulous there. The tiny temple Japanese built there in the Port Blair itself. So that's, yeah, so this is the bunker. And Japanese built all the bunkers after breaking the cellular jails, 3 cells. So 3 radials they broke, and they took out all the bricks and they built all the bunkers. This is about Nicobar. I am quite sure that you have many questions on this. But Nicobar is, I think,
we'll come to the questions after the session.
Okay, so quickly I'll wrap it up.
All right, yeah.
So Nicobar is a southern group of islands where you have the tribes, Shompen and Nicobaris. And this is Indra Point, where in fact this thing is gone after 2004 tsunami. It's gone inside the sea. Next. Yeah, this is all Chora Island, and next. If at all you get any chance to visit Andaman Nicobar Islands, please request everybody and go to Chora Islands. This is the most unique island I have seen in my entire 2 years, and the waters is absolutely amazing. The two, you can see turquoise and blue in the last this thing, and that turquoise is seen nowhere else in Andaman. This is the most unique water that you will see in Chora Island. Not even havelocks, not even. People quickly, there are 6 PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Next. First is Jarvas. So Jarvas, actually we have started a small school there for the Jarvas. They are highest in number, 600 Jarvas is there. And Jarvas never actually had reconciled with British approach. So they always stayed away, they fought British throughout. And that's why they are the highest in number at present. Next. These are Jarva kids. After school they have gone to there to play, and they allowed me to photograph also. I was quite lucky. And then second, Andamanese. Andamanese, in fact, was the most numerous tribe at that time. So, in fact, I was reading Portman. Portman was the anthropologist who was working during British time. He's written that there were 10 septs of Andamanese. Kari Kora, Jerubo, Bia, Balawa, Javai, Puchwar. All these, they all got decimated. Only the Bia sect survived. And only 58 of Andamanese are surviving now. And they all are married mainland people. So, you'll find, you know, the young, fair Punjabi boy coming with a Jarva girl to my office for something. And I was like quite bewildered that what is he doing here. He said, I married this girl. These are Andamanese. Ongays and Sentinelese, next. And then Shompen. Shompen is in Great Nicobar. These are some of the photos. Next. And then you have people from mainland were also brought here. 1911, you have Moplas brought from Kerala. Similarly, other Bhantus were brought from UP. There are other tribes who were brought there in Andamans. They all settled there. And so you have all the, it's a true melting pot, because people used to marry from one religion to other. Even now, a Hindu marrying a Muslim is not unheard of. It's not that anybody will frown upon or anybody would object. It's a common practice there. People, intercaste is like, so normal that you can't imagine. So it's a very, very nice culture which has evolved. And these are some of the, this you can see in Tamil Nadu also, this thing happening. Next. So I think briefly I've shown you that about Andaman and the life there.
I'd suggest the book has stunning pictures of the landscape of the beautiful islands, so you must buy and see them for yourself. Thank you. Seema, Verma, I come to you now. So Seema went to live in the Andaman Islands because her husband was posted there as the commander-in-chief of the only joint command, which consists of the Coastal Guard, Air Force, Army and the Navy. So as the wife of the Commander-in-Chief, she was the president of the Defense Wives Welfare Association, where she actually did a lot of work on the environmental issues. She even got the National Swachhata Award for the work that she did in 2017. She was honored at the Vigyan Bhavan, which was chaired by none other than the Prime Minister Modi himself. And this was the first time a Defense Wives Association was getting an award that prestigious. So I would like to know from you, when did you discover what you did beyond the tranquil turquoise waters? Would you like to share with us?
Yes, thank you for the good words. Keshavji's book is about when turquoise waters turned dark. So it's about historical book, and it's about past. When I was approaching Andamans, of course I had been earlier as a tourist, but this even posting when we were much younger. And so when I was approaching Andamans, they are breathtaking. The islands, the waters are breathtaking. And I said, wow, we are coming to heaven. And we landed there and we went for our evening walk. No, we went for our evening walk. And it was low water time. The amount of muck that you see on the beach it will make you cry. So for me, the turquoise waters are turning dark even now. So, and of course it pained me and it troubled me, and I thought what to do. Then we went to Havelock. When we were returning from Havelock, there is this huge mountain of garbage which is burning 24/7 and polluting the environment, the pristine environment. So I decided, no, we need to do something about it. And as a Defense Vice Welfare Association president, because of your husband has some power, you have little power, you at least get, when I go and call on Chief Secretary, he'll say, yes, ma'am, come in. And if it is Swachhata, these days, because of Mr. Modi, Swachhata has become a very important word. So you see, please, madam, aiye, chai pijiye, baithiye. So I first went to the administration to say, what can we do about these plastic bottles, the wrappers? So, of course, they were very, very warm, very welcoming. But they have their own system. It doesn't move so fast. And as a Fauji wife, one is always, one doesn't know when one is moving out. It could be tomorrow, it could be 1 year, it could be 2 years. So we are always in a hurry. So when I realized 2-3 months went past and nothing was happening, so I went to my husband and I said, I need to give me one small colony. He was also very reluctant because he says, "Ye kya kachra leke baith rahi ho? Why don't you do better things?"
I was going to ask you, I've heard of so many other things that the Wives Association do in defense, but how did you think up of kachra?
Yeah, same, because of when you see these turquoise waters turning dark, that is the... And then I decided, and we made a project and we implemented in a small colony. And of course, initially we had little issues, but once it was successful, we replicated it in all our bases, in all the islands. And you won't believe it, we brought down from 20 trucks of garbage to less than half truck. So I thought that was my way of giving back to the turquoise waters.
Did you ever think it will become such a movement that it did, that every defense establishment in the country today is emulating your model? And I know you, since I've seen your journey personally, that it's a very unique model.
Definitely not. Not even in my wildest dream I thought that it will happen. But because as it is, it's Kala Pani. You are in Andamans, people forget about you. Navy forgets about you. The personnel department forgets about them. You have to keep reminding them, we are still there, we are still around. So, but I don't know how it happened, maybe thanks to the local administration, because apparently every state has to give entry for Swachhata Award. So when it must have come to Andamans, they must have realized that there is this association doing something. So a team came down from Delhi, apparently 15-20 people, and I was working, so only weekends I used to go. So the girls called me up and they said there are 15-20 people who've just come and wanted to see the system. So that's how they got, and then they realized that such detailing we had done, the way we were managing. We had opened little kiosks called segregated waste collection centers at the entrance. Because I believe there were two things which I wanted to work on, that a person has to take pride in their kachra, and the second was the segregation has to happen at the residence level, not the kachra walis. Their job is not to segregate. So we were able to implement that, and maybe that is why we got an award, and of course we were elated and we were overjoyed.
So in the name of Swachhata, I hear from you that, most doors open in the government departments. You are also offered tea, but nothing ever happens beyond that. Why is so? Because the Prime Minister gives so much importance to Swachhata. Why is it that our nation still has a long way to go?
I won't say nothing happens. So much is happening. It's become so, like you see Indore, you see even our states, and even these days when the kachra gadi comes in the morning, things are happening. Now I work in village and I run an NGO. About ODF, I have an issue. About ODF, I've seen we tend to impose our way on that. See, in the village, I'm realizing people are still going out in the open to defecate. So why is that happening? Every house is supposed to have a toilet. So what I feel is, first of all, it's like if a person who's never seen a European Western style toilet, he will go, they don't know how to use it. So similarly, a villager, if you've made a toilet, they don't know how to maintain it. So they just make one toilet wherever they have space and they say, now use it. They use it for 4 or 5 days a week. After that, they have cattle there. They have bhusa there. They are all going out and going in the open. So I feel that there had to be little more study. There has to be training of how to use the toilet, how to maintain it. So these are the little things which I feel are overlooked.
Okay, we're running short
Yeah,
of
I'm
time,
sure.
and I hope
And
you haven't retired and you are carrying on the good work in Bhopal too.
I just run an NGO and I'm trying to give back to the society as much as I can. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Glad to have you on the panel. And should we open up for the questions?
Yes,
Is
ma'am, we'll
there
take
time?
one question.
Just one question. Yeah, Meera ji, please do.
You know, I just, Mr. Chandra, I just wanted to ask 2 questions. The first is, did you refer to the Japanese sources also, or is this a completely British sourced information? Okay, and that is one I wanted to know. And then you kept saying the convicts. Were they convicts or were they political prisoners who went there? So, I mean, of course, the British will call it convicts. Yes. But were they convicts or political?
It's like the mutiny and the 1857.
Yeah. Let me clarify
yes,
on
please.
this account. Yeah, so, yes, so this is the narrative which is generally taught, but tell you the historical truth. The first batch of convicts which brought it, and I'm saying convicts, after 1857, were all hardcore criminals who indulge in burglary, dacoity, rape, murder. And everybody, there's a clear this thing. The political convicts started coming in after 1911. There was a Anushilan Samiti. So Anushilan Samiti, after that, then Nasi conspiracy case took place. Nasi conspiracy, you must have heard about Veer Savarkar. So both the brothers were brought here. Then after that, there was a there was Alipur bomb conspiracy case where they planned to kill Jackson, the deputy commissioner. So all these fellows, others were brought. So revolutionary started coming from 1921. And it got prominence, the cellular jail got traction only after that. Why? Because on one side, British were writing that, the prison system is very good. But British was very scared of revolutionaries. They were not given basic humanitarian facilities. Like, they were not given newspapers, they were not allowed to go out of there. In fact, Veer Savarkar was not allowed to go out of his chamber. He was the only one, and he came to know that his younger brother is in same jail after 3 years. And that too when he was allowed to go to fetch something. Then he saw his younger Ganesh Damodar Savarkar. He saw him there. So there's a distinction. The revolutionaries started coming after 1911, after cellular jail was built. Before that, it's all convicts. And I'm saying it consciously because I've researched one. Second, you was asking that have you read only British sources? I've actually referred to, because Japs have not written anything about this. One. Indians have written, all those who were working that time. FMA Das is in fact there are 2 sources, very, very valuable source. F.A.M. Das is the person who was working at that time. Actually, I have given his reference also. And he has written very, very extensive account of what was their life. Then there was another guy. In fact, I have given all the references of Indian writers who have given that time. British had not written anything about Japanese prisons because they were not there. All the British they were killed. A.J. Bird, the chief secretary, actually he was dragged out in the open. Firstly, they broke his hands and legs, and then they chopped off his head.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So now there's an audience question. One of our speaker will ask a question, and whoever answers the question will receive a book called Living an Enriched Life by Dale Carnegie. So over to you.
Is this the question?
No, you can ask.
Okay, sorry.
Anything related to your book or related to the session or any general knowledge question?
Okay, so I've already said, I've already explained. So the question is very simple, that among all the tribes, which tribe is least in number?
Jarvas?
No, that was opposite. No. Andaman. So he doesn't require this book, Dale Carnegie, but anyway, he gets it.
Okay, so sir, please come forward and receive the gift. So this book, Living an Enriched Life by Dale Carnegie, a timeless guide to cultivating enthusiasm, courage and resilience needed to thrive in every aspect of life. Ladies and gentlemen, this session has been a deep dive into Andaman and Nicobar Island, revealing a world beyond beauty of the scenic beauty of the island. So the presentation you have shown to us, it was like we were feeling it like we are there in the island. It was like it gave a sense of reality to us. Thank you so much. And I think audience will relate. We all would like at least want to go there for once in our life. So Keshav, Chandra sir, thank you so much for the insights that you have showcased, the island's unique challenges and opportunities, blending governance with artistry to inspire meaningful change. I would also like to thank Ms. Seema Verma ji for your work in waste management and rural empowerment. Has been a beacon of innovation and dedication, setting an example for environmental stewardship. I would also like to thank Niharika Singh ji for your skillful moderation and unique perspective. This has made this conversation enlightening and truly engaging. Now, as we conclude this enriching session, I would like to request Brigadier Sanjay Agrawal ji, a founder member of our society, to please present esteemed speaker with a memento as a token of gratitude.
Thanks to the audience also, they've been wonderful.
Yes, yes. Can we have a huge round of applause? So, Padma Shri Bhil artist Bhuri Bai has created this artwork. Padma Shri Bhil artist Bhuri Bai has created this artwork for BLF 2025, depicting the connection between nature, earth, human being and environment. To our incredible speakers, thank you so much for sharing your wisdoms, creativity and insights.
And to our evergreen moderator. How many of you know that she's a great one at the National School of Drama? Yes. One more with all of us. Yes.
At the end, thank you so much all for being a part of this engaging session. May the stories and inspiration shared here guide us in embracing the diverse beauty of India's hidden gems. Stay connected as we continue the journey tomorrow. See you.
Yes.